What's going on, people? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mordzs, and look, I've got a little bit of a different video again today. Look, I thought to myself, look, everyone's always talking about the big players in the Premier League. Your Mo Salahs, your Alexander Isaks, your Cole Palmers, your Van Dijks, your Gravenberches, your Caicedos. These are the players that, in my opinion anyway, I feel like people speak about every single week. Your Sakas, etc. They get a lot of airtime. You know what I'm saying? People speak about them online all the time. But I thought, which players do I feel like, in my personal opinion, everyone's opinions can be different. So let me know in the comments as well, your opinion. But who are my most underrated players in the Premier League so far this season? Yeah, this season so far, who are my most underrated players in the Premier League? Make sure you like the video. Make sure you comment your most underrated players. And also, if you agree or disagree with any of my underrated players. And make sure you subscribe. But let's get into this video. So I thought the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to do it in like a team. I thought I'd just pick 11 players and I'll put them into a team. Instead of just picking, I don't know, 10 strikers or 10 wingers. Like, what's the point in that? I'll just put it into a team so I have one player from each position. So the first player, in my opinion, I think is underrated. And the reason why I say he's underrated is because his team is doing very well, but there's a lot of players in this team that get more, people speak about them more. And in fact, I picked a few players. I probably picked about 2 or 3 players from this team. And the team is Nottingham Forest, and the first player is obviously Mordzs. So he's obviously the goalkeeper for Nottingham Forest, and I think he's had a great season in terms of just being commanding, being such a great shot blocker for Nottingham Forest. He saved them in some important games and kept them alive in a lot of games. That's the reason why Forest have won quite a lot of games. It's not always going to be an easy 2-0, 3-0 victory, which they have been doing, quite a bit this season. But sometimes your goalkeeper, your defenders are saving you and keeping you in the game so you can snatch that little 1-0, snatch that 2-1, and pick up these points throughout the season. And that's what they've done amazingly so far. That's why I think they're in the top 4. I don't know where they are in the top 4, because the top 4 always seems to change like every single week. But I think Mordzs has been a great for Nottingham Forest. My next player is someone who I got absolutely slaughtered for the whole of last season for saying that he was a better player than Diogo Dalot at Manchester United. Now, don't get it twisted. Dalot had a great season last season. In fact, I can hold my hands up and say Dalot had a better season than Wan-Bissaka. But throughout the season, I was constantly just going back and forth with everyone, arguing for this player, and his name is Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think this season, he come back to himself a little bit. The pressure of the United top is heavy. It's a heavy top, and not a lot of players can thrive in that top. We've seen it. We've seen it so many times. How many players, they play for United, they underperform and they leave and they go and play a lot better. But I feel like Aaron Wan-Bissaka, even though West Ham haven't been great this season by far, I think they just sacked the manager actually, like last week or something, or maybe this week actually. They just sacked the manager. But Wan-Bissaka has been probably one of their players that has actually shone. And a lot of West Ham players that I've heard speak anyway have said that they are grateful for that signing because he's actually done well. Defensively, he's had 32 interceptions, which is in the 97th percentile, which means he's one of the best in the world pretty much at interceptions. Recovery's been great. He's actually improved a lot in his positional awareness. That's one thing for United he struggled with, checking his shoulder, make sure he's in the right position. He's also gone forward quite a bit as well. Like he's contributed a bit better in his attacking for West Ham. Again, West Ham haven't been great, so it's not like he's improved the team or anything like that. But I think in terms of how he was playing for United, he's definitely improved a lot, and he's been quite important for West Ham. So I think he's a player that they'll probably say has been underrated for them. And on the other side, on the left back side, I've got Lewis Hall. Now, Newcastle have been amazing this season, and to be fair, Lewis Hall has been getting quite a few shouts, and a few people have spoke about him for being so important to Newcastle. But I just think, again, another fullback who isn't really in the conversations for being one of the top fullbacks in the league. People talk about Anthony Robinson, and obviously Robertson as well for Liverpool, to be fair. Got players like Guardiola, etc. But Lewis Hall, considering how old he is as well, I think he's about 20 years old. I think he's probably... He's British, right? He must be British. His name's Lewis Hall. Let me check quickly. Lewis Hall. He's an English. Yeah, Yeah, Lewis Hall should be England's probably main fullback. Let's be honest, our main left back. There's no way we're gonna enter into the next competition. Considering the last competition England went into, we had no left backs. Luke Shaw was injured. Chilwell might have been injured, but I don't think he was there. No, Lewis Hall is, in my opinion, he's probably the best English left back there is. Let's be real. And I think he is so important to be a Newcastle player as well. The ball goes through him so much. I think it's probably one of the most highest amount of touches out of every Newcastle player. That should tell you how much they play through him, you know. Next, I'm going to go onto the two defenders. Now, again, this is another one. The first one's another Forest player, and it's Murillo. I think he, again, been super important for Forest in terms of like keeping them in the game. He's a great leader, composure at the back, strength. You know, he reads the game very well. He's got a high interception rate. I think he's just been super good for Forest in terms of just their defensive structure, keeping everyone. I even heard Ole Einar speak. He spoke on it. I can't remember where I heard him speak on it, but he said that Murillo in defence has been super important for them, especially because obviously he's a defender as well, and he likes to go forward. He's one of the he's more of a, let me not say he's more of an attacking threat for them, but he goes forward a lot and he likes to play football. He's technically good on the ball. He came from the Chelsea Academy, so you know a lot of their players technically are very good. But I think that the conversations in terms of the defence has been more about the Ole Einars, etc. But Murillo has been such a strong body at the back for them. Again, another underrated player. Again, another player he plays for a dead team. He plays for, let's be honest, he plays for Everton, but you know, I think he's been, again, super important in Everton's defensive structure, and that's Tarkowski, or however you pronounce his name, Tarkowski, well, I don't know, innit? Someone correct me in the comments, but I think even the Arsenal game, I watched the Arsenal game, he might have been man of the match. Tarkowski might have been man of the match in that Arsenal game. He's so good at blocking the ball. He's so good at tackling. He's just a rock in the defence. Again, another leader in that defence. Now, Everton haven't been the greatest, let's be honest. I mean, United beat them 4-0. So that should kind of tell you how good they've been. But he himself, as a defender, great aerial, great in the air. Again, shot blocking, his clearances. I think he's got 75% aerial duel success rate. That should tell you how good he is. Like he is such a rock for that defence. So they're the two defenders. That's the whole defence pretty much done. That's my underrated defence in the Premier League. Now, moving on to the midfield. My first midfielder is, my name's not Andre, mate. Amadou Onana. Now, he picked up a few goals earlier on in the season. He hasn't really kept that run of form going. But that's not necessarily why he's even in the team. In my opinion, he's probably one of the most complete midfielders in the Premier League. Now, yes, I think Villa have a lot of players that are shining a lot better. You know, look at someone like Tielemans, Thuram, Ollie Watkins, etc. Players that people speak about a lot more than Onana, who's obviously he's a new signing. He's just come in this season. I think he was £50 million. But I think he's been a great signing. Great signing. I think he kind of allows players like a Tielemans, like a Ross Barkley to kind of express themselves a bit more, and he's more of the compact. You know, he keeps the structure, great defensively. He can also go forward a lot. He carries the ball well through the midfield. You watch Onana play. I don't even want to use this comparison, but it gives me Yaya Toure vibes. Yeah, not to the level of obviously Yaya Toure, because he's probably one of the best midfielders the Premier League's ever seen in terms of, you know, being a complete midfielder. But it gives me those kind of vibes. You know, he's good on the ball. Like I said, he carries it well. He can go forward. He's got a couple goals on him. Again, he's not got that many goals as Yaya Toure, but I just think he's an all-round complete midfielder. The second midfielder I want to speak about, again, I'm back to Forest. And it's Elliot Anderson. I think he's such a great midfielder. I think, again, he allows players like Gibbs White, the Hudson-Odoi, they're attacking players to go and be more expressive. And even then, he, in my opinion, Elliot Anderson, he kind of adds to that offense as well. He's not just, I know he plays more on the pivot behind, like I said, like behind the Gibbs White, but he carries the ball well. He's creative. I think I've got some stats up here. He's got 5 assists. He got one again. He obviously got one against United. I got to bring up United, you know, because a lot of the times when I watch these players play, I'm focusing on them when I'm watching them against United, and then I'll see them and I'll be like, oh, right, he's actually pretty decent, and I'll go and watch them a bit more, and then I'll find out more about them. But again, I love he's created 27 chances this season, a lot of key passes. I think Liverpool are actually looking at him, looking to bring him in the team. I think that'd be another great signing for them, considering obviously they've got McAllister in there, who's more of like an 8. Gravenberch is like a 6/8. And then they've got like a Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones, who are more 10s kind of. But if Liverpool do bring him into that team, that's a serious signing going forward. I think he's young as well, 22 years old. And the way he plays, you know, you wouldn't think he's 22 years old. And yes, there's a little bit less pressure playing for Forest, but if he was to go to Liverpool and shine, that's a huge signing for them. And the last player is someone who, you know what, I was thinking about, when I was going through the list, I was thinking about this player, but in a different position. And when I went to go and do a bit more research on this player, I found out that he actually does play a lot more as like a 10, and it's Dwight McNeil. I think he's actually underrated for Everton this season. Now, like I said, when I was thinking about him, I think about him more of a left winger. But like I said, the more I've actually looked into him, he is playing more of a 10. And again, he's another player that the ball kind of has to go through him for Everton to play. Everton have to go through Dwight McNeil. There's no way Everton are going. No, I'm not saying there's no way, but Everton are more likely to get some goals, which I've been struggling with this season. But they're more likely to get some goals if the ball goes through Dwight McNeil. I think he's, again, creative, can put in a cross, got 3 goals, 3 assists this season, creates a lot of chances. Again, Everton have been poor this season, so it's kind of hard for him to shine, you know, in such a bad team. But he's another player. Like, I think if Everton do go down, which is likely, they might go down, he's not going down with them. I think he'll find a move to a Premier League team. Now going forward, the 3 attackers. The first one, I'm going to start on the left wing. Again, this player probably could have played in the midfield as well. Super versatile player, and that's Alexander Iwobi. If that's even his name. But I know his name's Alex Iwobi. I'm pretty sure his name's Alexander Iwobi. But again, like I said, it's another all-rounded, versatile player. Like I said, he could probably be in the midfield in this list. He could play probably either wing. He could even drop a bit deeper. I've seen him play deeper in that midfield, but super important to Fulham. In my opinion, Fulham have been such a silent assassin this season. Nobody really talks about what Fulham are doing. I think because they're in about 9th position, but they're so close to the top 8, they could easily get a European spot. And they've got some big results against top teams. I think they beat Chelsea this season. They beat Newcastle this season. They got a point against Arsenal, a point against Liverpool. They just about lost to United. I think that first game of the season where Xerxes got his debut goal just about lost to us. And even City struggled against them. So it's Fulham, in my opinion, they've been a silent assassin. They've just been creeping around, taking points from all the big 6 teams. I think they got a point against Tottenham as well. Or they beat Tottenham, I can't remember. But a silent assassin, a great team. And Iwobi has been another great player for them. You know, again, not just going forward, great on the ball, came from the Arsenal Academy, obviously. So, you know, Arsenal Academy players usually are very technically gifted, the same as Chelsea. They've got a very good academy in terms of just developing young players' ability. He's one of the top players in their academy as well. Later on in his academy spell, he's one of their top players, especially when he came through to their first team. But look, I think he's such a good player. And then my other winger playing on the other side, I've got a player. He's actually on loan. He's on loan to Leicester right now from Brighton. Young player, 20 years old, Facundo Buononetti. I think that's how you pronounce it. Facundo Buononetti, and a great player. He's performed so well for Leicester this season. Again, another player is playing on a terrible, I'm not saying terrible, but an underperforming side. But he's been kind of the shining light now. Before Steve Cooper got sacked, I think he was pretty much riding the bench a little bit. But the games that he has started, and even when he has come off the bench, he's been a great performer for them. He's been super dynamic, creative spark. He's quick. He's a real South American winger. You know them kind of players that he's gonna try and take on his man. He's gonna have that creative spark, put in some crosses. Another great player. Again, like I said, in an underperforming side, and if Leicester, he is on loan anyway, so he's gonna end up back at Brighton. But as a player who I think he's got a long future in the Premier League, wherever he wants to go. But at this level of football, 20 years old, great player. And the last player is a striker who has been putting numbers on the scoreboard. You know, you're putting numbers on the scoreboard, but not a lot of people have been speaking about him. But I understand why people don't speak about him. And his name is Johan Wissa. Is his name Johan? I always forget what players' first names are. You know. Yeah, it is Johan Wissa. Now the reason why people obviously don't speak about him is because he's played next to probably one of the, you know, most spoke about strikers or attackers this season in obviously Brian Bremo, who's obviously he's doing his thing. He can't be underrated because the amount that people speak about him. But his strike duo, he's obviously Bremo kind of plays a bit more on the wing, but Wissa as a striker has been super underrated. No one's speaking about him compared to Bremo, and he's got double figures already this season. He's got 20 goals. He's got 10 goals so far this season. If he carries on this form, he could end up with almost 20 or maybe just under 20 goals this season. 18 goals. If you get 17, 18, 19, 20 goals in the Premier League, that is an amazing season in my opinion. Especially if you're playing for a team that's not competing for any, like competing for the title or competing for a top four, etc. And if you're the second highest goal scorer at your team and you've got 17 plus goals, to me that's a great season. So he's got 10 goals, 2 assists, clinical fit, he's absolutely great finisher. And people forget as well last season when what's he called? What's that guy called him at Saudi? You all know who I'm talking about. How can I not remember his name? Ivan Toney. When he was out for his foolishness, what he was doing, Wissa was holding it down. He was holding it down. Obviously, Bremo was putting in performances as well, but Wissa was holding it down for Brentford, getting in goals. I think he got 12 goals in the Premier League last season when Ivan Toney was out. So, yeah, I think, again, another underrated player. Yes, he played next to Bremo, who's super great, but that duo, that partnership is what makes Bremo probably so great as well, because Wissa's not just a good goal scorer, but he links up well with Bremo. He links up well with not just Bremo, but even the other players in that Brentford team. So that's my starting 11 of underrated players so far in the Premier League. Now, by the time the season's done, I might have a whole new list. There's a few players that I was gonna also add into the team, but there's a lot of underrated players in the Premier League. So let me know, who would you have added to your list, and if you agree or also disagree with my list, let me know. But look, tomorrow I'm back with another video, so I'm gonna see you later.